There are conflicting reports stating where the Jets are in their general manager search. Some reporters say they've hired Darren Muji. Some say the search is not over. A lot to get into. We'll cover all of that and much more, all coming up here on a Friday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, Friday, January 24th, 2025. We do have a head coach in the building, in Aaron Glenn. Do we have a GM in the building? It still remains uncertain. Josina Anderson, I'll get the tweet up here on the screen. Josina Anderson, who's been on it the whole GM and head coach search. She's hit on a lot of things. She's been early on a lot of things. I'll pull this tweet up on the screen from her, obviously well-known NFL reporter. This is what she comes out and says at 12 p.m. today. Here, let me get this. Where am I? Boom. There we go. It says, we'll go full screen here on this one. Josina Anderson report says, breaking, a high-level league source tells me Denver Broncos assistant general manager Darren Muji is getting the Jets GM job. Now, a lot of people, a lot of content creators, a lot of people in this space reacted quickly because Muji's a finalist for this job. It's been made clear. Him, Darren Muji, Lance Newmark, who had a second interview a few days ago, was almost unofficially official that he was going to get the job, but that's kind of taken a step back. And Trey Brown, a senior personnel executive with the Bengals, those three are the finalists for the job. So a lot of people saw this tweet from Josina Anderson, and they went, all right, Darren Muji is the Jets' next GM. Well, not so fast. No other reporter ever confirmed that report, and Connor Hughes came out and said, I think an hour ago it was, that behind closed doors, Chris and Woody Johnson are still narrowing down the list and are going to pick a finalist hopefully sometime soon. So that seemed more of like a prediction from Anderson. There's a strong chance her prediction/report turns out to be correct. But as of this moment, let's just make this clear. As of this moment, the Jets have not hired a general manager yet. Let's just make that clear. Jets have not hired a general manager despite conflicting reports. So we're going to leave it at that. Smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of your support here on the program. 23 of you guys in the building, only 7 likes. Please hit the like button. It's completely free. Subscribe to the channel, completely free as well. Share the show, family, friends, everything. It means a lot. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Drop your questions in. We'll be sure to answer every single one of those. Don't forget about our membership raffle. I'll throw the ticker down below. Every membership you gift gets you a ticket into our raffle. Month's coming to an end, so be sure to get your memberships in. Garrett Wilson signed mini helmet, Winkerbet signed football, free item from the merch store, channel emoji is what we are raffling off this month. Like I said, get your questions, comments, super chats, memberships in. Call into the show, pin comment in the chat. We're going to break everything down. But before we do so, let's say what's up to everyone in the chat. Our guy Rod comes in here extra early. Says, go Jets. Rod, good to see you in the chat. Caden, tuning in. Caden, appreciate your support on the program. Our guy BC in the chat. BC, good to see you. Caden says, when do you think Muji will be officially announced? Caden, honestly, I'm not going to, from what we just saw with Lance Newmark, a few days ago, I don't even think it's a sure thing 1,000% that Darren Muji is going to be the next New York Jets general manager. It is certainly trending in that direction, but that's where we were with Lance Newmark. I'm going to be honest. I was talking in current tense. I'm going to be like, all right. Lance Newmark is the Jets' next general manager. Well, not so fast. Then boom. Seems like he's probably third out of these 3 finalists in terms of like a chance to actually get the job. So I don't even know if it's a sure thing that Muji will get the job. I say they announce someone by Monday just because they're introducing Aaron Glenn on Monday, and I could see them wanting to have a GM there as well. Eddie Ralph tunes in. Eddie, I appreciate your support here. Mercy Fate, who's a channel member, comes in and says, hello all, huge day. It was a crazy day. I think that's where I think that's the word to sum it up. Also, LA in the chat. Good to see you. Appreciate your support. I agree, Mercy Fate, but still, no other reporter has confirmed that. That's what concerns me here. No other reporter has confirmed that report. That's what I think there's a strong chance he gets the job. I just don't think there's a sure thing right now in terms of the possibility of Darren Muji, the assistant GM of the Denver Broncos, landing the job. That's where I am right now. Where are we? Caden says just need to get Nick Caley this weekend. Caden, I have a whole section of the show, today's episode, that's going to be dedicated to Nick Caley talk. So you got you covered there. Don't worry. Nick Caley, here's a little sneak peek here. A little sneak peek for me on Nick Caley. I freaking love him as an offensive coordinator candidate. Dyson comes in, channel member. When the New York Jets Facebook tells me who's hired, I'll believe it. Yeah, only Josina Anderson. Tyson is saying that Darren Muji will be the Jets' next general manager already. Caden, Muji's the clear decision, took a team to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback that everyone thought was a reach for a pick. This is tough because he's in the Broncos organization. He's worked his way all the way up from a scouting intern in 2012, now their assistant general manager. Was obviously a player in the league for a couple seasons. Darren Muji's strength is, yes, this is impressive. His strength, though, is building staffs. He's highly experienced in both pro and college scouting, which I think is a huge thing. And he's a great relationship builder. And, Rich Cimini and a ton of other reporters have said he has a very high IQ. He makes a big presence. He's, makes his presence felt. So I wouldn't mind Darren Muji as a candidate. And let's keep in mind, he's still on the relatively younger side. He's 39 years old. So I think Darren Muji, I think there's a strong chance he gets the job. I mean, let's be honest, though, guys. Out of these three finalists, they all kind of came out of left field these past few days. Like when they first fired Joe Douglas, the names that came up on our radar were John Dorsey, Ray Agnew. Ironically, those two didn't even get an interview. Let me think of another name. Thomas Dimitri was interviewed quickly, right off the bat. Nothing, never got a second interview. Who I think should get this job. I think he's the most seasoned. I mean, so many seasons with the Falcons drafting so many Pro Bowlers. I think he deserves this job, but he still didn't even get a second interview. So all these candidates who the Jets, we expected them to interview, we expected them to covet the most, are not even finalists. If you told me when the Jets fired Joe Douglas that Trey Brown, Darren Muji, and Lance Newmark were going to be the three finalists for the Jets job, I would have called you crazy. That came completely out of left field, especially Brown and Muji. Like, Muji was interviewed relatively recently. Brown was interviewed that first day they went on that spree on Black Monday requesting all those guys, but I didn't really expect much out of them. I didn't expect those three guys to kind of be the fun. I expected nothing out of Brown. I put them in the C tier, middle of the road candidates, and then they interviewed Muji and Newmark after I put out the tier list. I'd put Muji in B, Newmark in C. That's where I am. Explosive Diarrhea comes in and says, well said. I appreciate you tuning in, man. Appreciate your support. Wild Wave, a channel member and a moderator on the program. Wild Wave, one of the day one listeners here on NY Flight Jets Talk, comes in and he says, I don't understand what's taking so long. Does no GM want to attach themselves to Rodgers? I agree. What is taking so long with this search? It's been such a weird overall head coach and GM search. Things, when Spielman and Tannenbaum came in, I was like, all right, things are going to move quickly. Now it's been to the point, okay, you get Aaron Glenn in the building after waiting a while to hire a head coach. And then, okay, Lance Newmark, he's going to be the team's next GM. That's 2 days ago. And now it's kind of like, well, there's been, breaking news. Lance Newmark's going to be the GM. Wait. Darren Muji's going to be the GM. Wait. We don't have anything confirmed yet. So it's kind of been a roller coaster of emotions after you fire your GM during week 9, I think it was, and you fire your head coach after a 2-3 start. Yeah. Caden. Yeah, the Salah Ulbrich staff's been getting picked apart. I think Marquand Manuel, their safeties and defensive backs coach, went to the Giants. Mike Rutenberg, the linebackers coach, followed Ulbrich over to Atlanta. I know they lost running backs coach Tony Dews. I don't think it was New England. Let me look up Tony Dews. Where did he go? I know he's gone. Let me fact check this here, guys. Please stay with me here. Give me a second. Tony Dews. Patriots. Yes, I was right. The Patriots hired him as their running back coach. So a lateral move for Dews. Yeah, that staff's been getting picked apart. Our guy Michael comes in here and he says, how much say do you think Glenn has in the GM? Connor Hughes did not mention Glenn in this tweet. I would hope none, quite frankly, Michael, but honestly, I don't know, because let's be real. The only people that know what it's like to be in these, interviews, what direction that the talks are trending are Rick Spielman, Mike Tannenbaum, Woody Johnson, and Chris Johnson, and Jaime Elhai. Because those are the only 5 people in the interview room, plus the candidate. So my honest answer is I don't know. I just hope he's not. The only candidate I felt comfortable with the Jets giving the reins, the only head coach candidate I felt the Jets, I thought it was okay. You can let him pick the general manager. That was Mike Vrabel before he ultimately went to the New England Patriots. I like Aaron Glenn. I hope he does great things in New York. Fiery personality, former Jet, played 8 seasons here, personnel scout. turned the worst defense in all of football to a top 5 unit in 4 seasons. That's incredible and all. But I mean, do we really want a first-time defensive-minded head coach having significant say in the GM hire? I'll tell you right now, I don't. That's where I am right now. Kanan says, 26 watching, only 14 likes. Yeah, we have 38 of you now in the building, please. Smash the like button, only 18 likes. Please hit the like, completely free. It helps us grow the channel a ton. South Philly says, don't listen to Gary, Connor. Stay in school. South Philly, I don't even think I can drop out of school right now. You have to be 16, I think it is, to drop out of school, and I'm not a high school dropout here. Ace of Spades says if Josine is wrong, it's not a good look. I would say Muji is going to be the next GM, but my overall point here, Ace of Spades, is nothing is finalized yet. That's where I am. Where we Greg Rowell comes to get down Muji. Uji. There we go. Let's see. DB94 says, I didn't know it was still unconfirmed. Still, we have the hope of keeping him. Yeah, I mean, he survived multiple regimes there. He survived multiple regimes with the Broncos. He has an incredible relationship with Sean Payton. So I think a lot to like in Darren Muji from what I've seen, read, and heard. It seems like he's pretty involved with the Broncos front office. So DB94, obviously a Broncos fan at the top of our leaderboard for the membership raffle here. I appreciate all your support as always. Does not want Darren Muji to leave Denver. So that's an interesting nugget there from a Broncos fan. Tyson says maybe Glenn got a call from Peyton and said and he said, is Newmark really the guy? Want your name associated and then push Darren. Well, Tyson, Glenn is directly connected to Newmark from their time in Detroit together. On the other hand, Muji and Glenn are kind of interestingly connected. Glenn obviously has that really strong relationship with Sean Payton, then Payton and Muji have a really strong relationship. So I don't know how it evolved overall. So, yeah, I don't have much insight there. Our guy Jake Asman, Mr. 41K, best Jets content creator out there on the internet. Of course, check out incredible work. As always, Jake comes with his 1-month member super chat. Connor, what are you hiding behind you? Whoa. So Jake, I actually went through a move. So that's why, I'm still kind of moving in. So I have everything behind me. In a few weeks, once I get everything set up here in the, serviceable area, that's when we'll take the background blur off. Jake, I appreciate you tuning in. Ace of Spade says, could you believe no Agnew interview, especially with the son on the team? If I was a betting man, I would have lost. I thought he was going to get the job. I'm going to be honest. I said Aaron Glenn, Ray Agnew since day one, but clearly not the case. Agnew never got a GM interview. And you mentioned that his son, Ray Agnew III, has been a pro scout with the Jets for 8 seasons. There's that interesting tie there. Jets, I could see them trying to pick from a winning organization recently that went through a rapid turnaround in the Detroit Lions. Agnew has a ton of experience with the Rams, worked with Les Snead for a while. So, I'm not saying hire him, but still, come on, at least give him an interview. You're interviewing Jim Nagy, you're interviewing Mike Loxley, Darren Rizzi. Come on, let's give Ray Agnew an interview here for the GM job. Caden says, a report did say we were supposed to have our GM picked by the end of the day, so we still got 4 more hours. I mean, they said that yesterday too, Caden. I think it was Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic. I love Zach. It's tough to predict these things, but he said that we're going to have a GM in the building yesterday. Not the case. So I'm not going to bet. I'd say like I said, my prediction towards the top of the show, I think they have a GM in the building by Monday. That's where I am with this whole search. And not to mention, we spoke about Muji and Newmark really, really, really being finalists for this job and saying, okay, they're going to be the next GM. Oh, wait, no, they're not. And, it kind of reminds me of the scenario with John Eric Sullivan. It was a few days where we were like, okay, John Eric Sullivan is the next Jets GM. Wait, nope. Doesn't even get a second interview. So crazy how so much can change in literally not even a day, 6 hours in the NFL news cycle. It's just crazy to think. Let's see. Our guy Zoink Nation is a channel member. Comes in and says, dude, it's freaking Connor Long. How you doing, my boy? Zoink Nation, I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate your support. I'm doing well on this Friday evening. How are you? Appreciate all your support on the program. Keep the questions coming in. We'll be sure to get to every single one. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Check out our merch store, NY Flight Jets Talk Hat, and much more in the description down below. Check out our Discord. A lot to get into there. I appreciate all your support. And then our membership raffle. Every membership you gifts get you a raffle ticket. Garrett Wilson signed Manny Elmo Winkerbet signed football, free item from the merch store, channel emoji among the prizes we are giving away this month. Appreciate all your support here on the show. Get in on that if you haven't already. Yurk comes in and he says, not excited about any of these 3 candidates. Quite frankly, neither am I. I mentioned it earlier. I didn't expect any of these guys to even get second interviews. I thought they were like, all right, you want to cast a wide net, speak to all these guys, and boom, you don't. Something convincing here is Michael Nania of Jets X Factor, who is the best, one of if not the best analytical New York Jets mind in the world, did like a simulation thing for Jet X where he kind of used current GMs in the league, the top ones like Les Snead, Brent Veach, John Lynch, all these guys, compared their resumes, and then based on he compared them to the candidates the Jets interviewed. Great story. Check it out if you haven't already. And the three guys he said would be the best fit for the Jets based on the top GMs in all of football, based on their prior resumes. Newmark and Muji were in there. Not Trey Brown, but Muji and Newmark, two of the finalists were in there. I know Trey Brown kind of hasn't gotten enough love yet. He's an interesting story. He was with the Patriots for a while. He's been with the Bengals for a few years. He has experience in the AAF, and he has experience in the XFL as an executive as well. He's a player for a little while, played at Ohio State. So interesting story there with Trey Brown. But I agree. None of these candidates really excite me. I say they're all middle of the road to slightly above average. I was for going with a safe route in Thomas Dimitroff or just taking a big swing at an Alec Halaby or someone of that nature. Well, Louis Agnew did not take any other requests, probably not interested. I don't even think the Jets requested him, though. That's the interesting thing. Did anyone request Ray Agnew? Off the top of my mind, I can't think of anyone right now. Yeah, Caden, I saw this earlier. Former Jets. I saw that. I think it was from Rosenblatt. A ton of his former teammates are going to be at the press conference, which will be cool. Listen to Harlan, guys. Harlan, I appreciate you tuning in. Smash the like. It is free. Come on and hit subscribe. Means a lot to all your support on the program. Let's get an exact subscriber count up here. We are at 1,424. The goal is 2,000 by the draft, 3,000 by the start of the season. Let's hit it. Completely free. Means a lot. Let's see. Italian Eddie Rouse says, Connor, what's your opinion on what you think Aaron Glenn and staff will do with Aaron Rodgers? I think at this point they're going to keep him. I am okay. I am okay if you bring Aaron Rodgers back at this point and he takes a $15 million pay cut. He takes a $15 million pay cut, becomes one of the lowest paid quarterbacks in all of football alongside Geno Smith. Then I'll bring him back next season. I think Aaron Glenn and the GM are going to want him back just because I think they're going to want to come in and win right away. And I think the quarterbacks they're going to look at, I hate to say it, I'm not a big Aaron Rodgers guy, but I think Aaron Rodgers ultimately gives them the best shot to win next season with a year removed from the Achilles injury. I understand he's getting older. I particularly don't want him back next season. I wouldn't say, but I think he's going to come back next year. I don't want him back on his current contract. Like I said, if he takes a $15 to $17 million pay cut, fine. But I'm not taking him back on his current contract. But yeah, short answer there. Yes, I do think a first-time defensive-minded head coach in Aaron Glenn is going to want Aaron Rodgers back next season. Harlan says, when is Sullivan getting his second interview? I don't think John Eric Sullivan is going to have a second interview with the team. These are the finalists, Harlan, which is pretty sad here. These are the three finalists we're looking at. You bring in the 33rd team, Rick Spielman, Mike Tannenbaum, these big names. You bring in Thomas Dimitroff, Jim Nagy, two intriguing names to start the search off. And it's like you're waiting this long, and I think settling Glenn's fine. I'm fine with Glenn, but to make one of these three candidates, to make one of them the GM, I'm not a fan. Like all of this, you're waiting this long for the search to bring in these duds. Just not exciting for me at this point. Sour Diesel, channel member, Bougie, what's his name? Darren Muji. You drove me, you kind of got me off the rails there. Darren Muji, yes, is not the GM. I thought, what is the problem now? You said Muji is the GM. I thought, what is the problem now? Muji is not the GM yet, Sour Diesel. No other reporter has confirmed Diana Rossini's report. Sour Diesel says conflicting reports or clickbait. It's conflicting reports right now. No one else is confirmed what Josina Anderson, first reported here regarding the Jets hiring Darren Muji. Greg Rallo, Jets coaching, get Corbett and Mangold involved. I think Mangold would be a good offensive line coach. I don't know if Corbett wants to get into coaching. I'm sure Mangold would love a job, though. Why not? Bring back some of the former Jets here. Jets worldwide, our guy Snowball in the house. Gray names need to change to green. Support Connor, support the Jets. Jets worldwide. Appreciate your support on the program. Channel member as well. Means a lot. Well, yeah. Here's where I am, Wild Wave. If both of them don't take a pay cut, you can't bring them back. I don't care if they give you the best chance to win. If neither of them take a pay cut, you cannot bring them back. I'm not paying Aaron Rodgers. What is it? He's due to make $37.5 million next season. I'm not paying him that money for someone who finished bottom 10 in every single metric. Except, the thing that everyone's, clamoring for, they're going crazy about is he finished 9th in touchdown passes and 11th in yards. Well, he had the second most attempts in all of football. You're prone to throw that many touchdowns and throw for that many yards if you have the second most attempts in all of football. So, come on. If they don't take a pay cut, you can't bring them back. But if they do take a pay cut, a significant one at that, I would consider it. With Newman, I think you're about to say Newmark here, Ace of Spade. With Newmark, if he doesn't get the GM position, I'm speculating the 33rd team liked him and assumed because he was a Lion, Glenn would automatically approve her. He did not like the power structure. Ultimately, when all is said and done, Ace of Spade, Woody Johnson gets the final decision. The 33rd team pretty much just serves as a consulting firm here. They vetted candidates. They showed them to Woody Johnson. They gave him advice. But when all is said and done, Woody Johnson gets the final say here. Maybe I could see that just because they have the connection. I mean, Newmark was with the Lions for 26 years. I believe it was. He was there for a long, long, long time. So, I could see why they had that connection there. Interesting story with those two. Where are we in the chat? With the power, did he of Glenn having final say? I don't think Glenn should get final say. I broke that down earlier. I don't want a first-time defensive mind picking the next GM. Tyson says Corbett wants to be a part of Glenn's team. Not sure if he'll be a coach, but wants to do something. Maybe he could do what like Cromartie did last training camp, where he came on. I forgot what they call it, but they bring in like a coach every single year, and he's kind of just there for training camp and the preseason. Do that with Corbett. Make him I'm okay. Make him the wide receivers coach. Do that. I'm fine with it. BC says second most passing attempts. Let's see. Yeah, second most passing attempts for Aaron Rodgers. Correct. Let me just fact check that really quick. Aaron Rodgers, PFF. I'm pretty sure he had the second most passing attempts in all of football this past season. Where are we? Second most passing attempts this season this past season with 584 passing attempts. That's where he finished. Sour Diesel says agree only scenario where AR makes sense is if he agrees to pay cut out of motivation to save his legacy on a 1-year prove-it deal ideal bridge. I like Tyrod Taylor. The problem is he can't stay healthy. I'm a big Tyrod Taylor guy. I just can't stay healthy. Wildwave says, Connor, you said the bonuses can't be given back, just push down the road, right? Yes, correct. But to the point where if you just lower his AAV this season, and I said this is like kind of before they hired Glenn. I still don't want him back. Let me just make that clear. But I still think he gives the Jets the best chance to win. That's where I am with Rodgers right now. The problem is, yes, you push the bonuses down the road, which I don't think a GM would like. You push all that money that you're supposed to owe him just down the road to lower his AAV this season because the pro trade signing bonuses and all of that get pushed down the road. Here's my thing. If I think this team, Wild Wave, I would love to hear your opinion in the chat here. Good coaching, solid coaching, average, competent coaching last season is the difference between 12-5 and 5-12. Aaron Rodgers made mistakes. The defense made mistakes. The kicking was awful, but the final boss was discipline. The final boss was leadership. That's what the Jets lacked. I could see Darren Muji, Trey Brown, who's the Lance Newmark, coming in along with Aaron Glenn and saying, hey, this is a team that was 5-12 and with legit coaching, a legit general manager in place, this team could have gone 12-5. Most of the pieces are returning. I mean, you got to re-sign Jamie and Sherwood. That's a big one. Pick up all the fifth-year options on the 2022 class. I would do that. I think they can say, hey, Aaron Rodgers, his advanced analytics were awful, but 24 touchdowns, I could see them looking at that and going, hey, coaching was the big difference between 12-5, 5-12. Most of the roster is back. I want the quarterback. I could see the Jets doing that. That's what I think they'll ultimately do, especially with a first-time defensive line coach. I can't emphasize that enough. Talking Jets with Tigo, Jets content creator Tigo in the house. Be sure to check him out. A player can give back a bonus as long as it hasn't been paid out already. Aaron's bonus hasn't been paid out, so he can give it back. Technically, I I read something differently for the Jets cap scenario. I read some of the pro trade signing bonus, the roster bonus you can't give back. If he's on the roster no matter what, I don't know the exact number, but that's a significant amount. If he's on the roster no matter what next season, you're still going to have to pay him that bonus. So there's an option bonus, a roster bonus, a pro trade signing bonus, a lot of different variables that come into play. We have a cap expert on actually tomorrow morning. I'm going to set up the show later tonight, 9:30 a.m. with Michael Pellas, Jets cap expert on Twitter. He's going to break down the whole Rodgers scenario. So for those who are unclear, be sure to check that out tomorrow morning with Michael Pellas, Jets cap expert. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Keep the questions coming in. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Don't forget about our membership raffle. 35 of you in the building, 32 likes. Smash the like button, completely free. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Like I said, keep the questions coming. We'll be sure to get to every single one of them. But I spoke about the GM. I spoke about, the head coach scenario. Now let's get into some coordinator talks. Nick Caley, now of the Los Angeles Rams, has been a hot name for the coordinator job. When all said and done, I think he's going to get the job, and I'm a big fan of it. I mean, he spent 10 years coaching at the college level. He joined Bill Belichick's staff in New England in 2015. He was their tight ends and fullback coach from 2017 to 2023. He had an opportunity to land their offensive coordinator job before they ended up hiring Alex Van Pelt. And he basically said, "No, I'm going to LA. I'm taking a significant pay cut, and I'm going to learn under Sean McVay, one of, if not the best offensive minds in all of football." So he went there. He's been with them this season. He's their passing game coordinator. He joined their staff in 2023. Excuse me, had an opportunity to be their Patriots OC after the 2022 season. He joined their staff in 2023 as a tight ends coach before being the passing game coordinator this season. So here's McVay. McVay, according to Rich Cimini, spoke on Caley today, and he said, quote, "I know that's a possibility," referring to, landing the Jets OC job. "He's a special coach. He's done a great job for us. I love everything about this guy." And now here's a more interesting one. Robert Mays, NFL reporter for The Athletic, on a podcast for the NFL podcast for The Athletic today. This is what he said of Nick Caley, quote, "When you leave a conversation with Nick, it's like leaving a conversation with Sean McVay." Now, Nick Caley's highly intriguing. Learn from Bill Belichick. Learn from Sean McVay, most importantly here. So here's where I am with Nick Caley. On the younger side, innovation. Obviously doesn't have offensive experience, but has learned from offensive masterminds in the past. Give me Nick Caley for offensive coordinator. I think that's ultimately what the Jets are going to do, and I wouldn't mind it. I like Thomas Brown, the Bears interim head coach and offensive coordinator. I like Clint Kubiak, the Saints offensive coordinator. Those are my top three guys. I'd say Kubiak's probably one, but I think Caley, realistically speaking, is going to land the job, and I'm fine with it. Learning under Sean McVay, was with Bill Belichick for a while, basically told the Patriots to screw it last offseason when they tried to bring him back as their OC. So give me Nick Caley as offensive coordinator. I'm fine with that. And then the last name I wanted to get into for the defensive coordinator job before I'll get to your questions is Steve Wilks. It's pretty much trending towards he's going to be the team's next defensive coordinator. He's an interesting one. He was a defensive backs coach in the NFL in the late 2000s, early 2010s. He was known for what he did with the Panthers defense, bringing them to the Super Bowl, especially his work with safety Jeremy Chin. So a lot to like with Wilks. He has head coaching experience, but it didn't go too well. Took the head coaching job with the Cardinals. He went 3-13, and then a few years later, he was with the Browns, with the Panthers, 49ers. He was a defensive coordinator. He was with the Panthers for 11 games, I think, as their interim head coach. He went 5-6. His head coach, his run as a head coach wasn't great, but he has experience, which I think is something this team needs. Steve Wilks was actually fired in San Francisco because they didn't like his aggressive blitzing scheme. I think you bring Steve Wilks in here. He has experience. He's on the older side. He's been a part of multiple defensive systems. He's aggressive. He blitz. I'm a fan of bringing Steve Wilks in here as defensive coordinator. It seems like as of now, Nick Caley and Steve Wilks are going to be the the team's coordinators. Special teams coordinator Chris Banjo was a name that tossed around. Mike Westhoff is going to be a consultant with Aaron Glenn and the Jets. We'll have him on right before the Super Bowl, so that should be a great interview. We'll talk about his new role and much more with the team. He's not going to come back as a coach, but he's going to consult with Aaron Glenn over the summer, kind of help put together his staff. I'm hoping for Darren Rizzi, a special teams coordinator, interviewed for the head coaching job, went 3-5. With the Saints in the final 8 games of this past season as their interim head coach. So that's where I am with the coordinators' jobs. I mean, I think we pretty much hit on everything here on the show. If you want to call in, just click the pinned comment in the chat. This is your last chance to do so. Get your final comments, questions, thoughts, and your smash the like button if you haven't already. 4 to 6 of you in the building. 34 likes. Please hit the like button. It's completely free. Please hit subscribe. Free as well. Where are we? Italian Eddie Ralph says, Connor, when are you going to start breaking down the NFL draft for us? Great question here. Incredible question from Eddie Ralph. Right after they hire the coordinators, and right after once they get these coordinators in place and it's officially assembled, boom, you get a GM in here. Full steam ahead, draft talk basically every day. Draft talk, free agency talk, all that. I've watched tape on a lot of the guys already. I finished most of the quarterbacks, finished most of the running backs, finished most of the wide receivers. I just got it started on the wide receivers, excuse me. Kind of going position by position here. Quick thoughts. Quarterback class, I like them taking Jackson Dart in the third round. Jalen Milroe, I think, could be fun. He has so much upside. My problem is I think he's a project. I think he's going to have to sit for, a year or two. But I think there's a chance that he's going to have to sit for 2 full seasons. That's the one concern with Milroe. He has so much upside, but he's going to have to sit for at least a season or two. I view him as a developmental project. If he's in the third round, I say you take a dart throw on him and you try to draft him. Kyle McCord. Grew up a big Jets fan, wears number 6 because of Mark Sanchez I like in the 4th or 5th round. Problem is he kind of crumbles under pressure a little bit. His athleticism, his mobility isn't up to par. I have scouting reports on a lot of these guys. We're going to break all those down. For where I want the Jets to go in the first round as of now, I want them to draft Ted McMillan from Arizona State for a surplus of reasons. Generational hand, solid run blocker, great route runner. Basically, like I said, generational hands, catches everything. I'm a huge fan of the Jets taking Ted McMillan out of Arizona State with pick 7. Well, where we go? Wild Wave says, Connor, we only have about $20 million in cap, and a lot of the guys are headed to free agency. We'd have to hit on all of our draft picks in order to compete for a playoff spot. It's tough to say right now where we are. I think with a good coach team, that's been my whole mentality. With a good coach team, this team, why can't this team be 10-7, 9-8? Why can't they? They showed they could have last season with competent coaching. Where are we? Ace of Spade. Do we target Lions free agents? Now you stole my thunder. I was about to suggest you have cap experts on as a guest. You're in the next show. You're a future young man. Ace of Spade. I appreciate your support on the show. Yeah, so we have Michael Pellas on the show tomorrow. We should have some more cap experts coming on shortly, as well as kind of the season as the offseason progresses a little. So a lot of fun cap plans on the horizon. Sharon comes in and here says, former Jet. She's suggesting a former Jet, Jim Leonard, for our DC. I wouldn't mind that. He's with the Broncos right now. I think he's their defensive backs coach. Jim Leonard as DC. Darren Muji comes in here as the GM. I could see that. Jim Leonard, DC. Maybe a Pete Carmichael, who's with the, I think it's going to be Nick Haley, but opens the door for, Pete Carmichael, Joe Lombardi candidates for the OC job. Glenn's connected to both of them, obviously both in Detroit right now. Not Detroit, excuse me, Denver. Cuca Lake Jet fan tuning in. He's a channel member here. Wild Wave. Jets can create another $30-40 million in releases and restructures. They are not that far. Yeah, I mean, just if you cut Devontae Adams alone, I think you free up $36 million. Problem is, I think they keep Devontae Adams. If you want to trade him, though, you can on his current deal. I think the best option with Devontae, keep him. Second best option, cut him and free up $35 million. I don't think you trade Devontae here. Where are we? Tyson says, does Slowick getting fired take away an OC candidate from us? Good question here. Not precisely, I don't think. Just because I could see the Jets kind of looking here and locking in on Nick Caley. I don't think Nick Caley's gotten a lot of OC buzz from a few other teams. The guys the Jets have kind of looked to covet for the OC job, I don't think are going to be highly coveted by other teams. That's where I am. Other than potentially Clint Kubiak. Other than that, I don't think the guys are going to be highly coveted by any other teams here. Where are we? Jets Worldwide says, question, what are you going to spend all the money on you save on Rodgers for? You have to revamp the entire safety room. That's what my mind goes to right away. You have to revamp the entire safety room. There is a chance that all 4 of the safeties aren't back. I don't think any of them deserve to come back. The only one, logically speaking, I could see come back is Tony Adams, and that's because he was a homegrown kid, and he has the ROFA tender. You could bring him back for less than $1 million next season. So, yeah, I think you have to revamp the safety room. That's one. I think you got to add on to the defensive line a little. I would like to add a receiver. I'd love to sign T. Higgins to a nice 4 or 5 year deal if you can. So those are the positions I'm really prioritizing here. Nathan Schiffer says, hypothetical question, how much draft capital are you giving for Vrabel? Personally, I'm giving our next 2 to 3 first-round picks. He brings the two things we need, leadership and accountability. Patriots aren't trading him. They just hired him, so no way, Jose. They're not doing that. I'm not a big fan of trading for coaches either way. The only coaches I trade for right now are really Kevin O'Connell and Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan's, they are just obviously hired a head coach too, so let's keep that in mind. We obviously know that's not happening. But if let's say the Jets never hired a coach, Kyle Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell would be the only two guys really I'd change for. I'd trade for, excuse me. Sour Diesel, channel member, innovation and offensive coordinator with Haley. Todd Haley's an interesting name, head coaching experience. D with Wilkes, sign me up. Yeah, Todd Haley's interesting. Hugh Jackson as a potential positional coach. His tenure in Cleveland as as head coach kind of went awfully wrong. But if you bring him in as a positional coach, sign me up for that. Caden says another receiver wouldn't be bad. Tet or trade back and get Tyler Warren. For tight ends, I like Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green in round 2. I'm not a huge fan of taking tight ends in the first round, especially, I agree. We need to revamp the tight end room. That's what I meant to say. I think Tyler Conklin comes back for like 1 year, $5 million, something like that. Other than that, I think Ruckert will get cut. I don't think Yeboah's coming back. Yeah, that's it. Zach Kuntz is nothing, so you need to revamp this tight end room too. Ace of Spade. I'm Glenn Hive. My only concern is he may believe to be set on always being aggressive scheme-wise on defense. Sometimes you have to adjust if you're going to get burned. Your thoughts? I haven't looked into his defensive scheme too much. I'm going to be honest with that. You look what they did and what Glenn did with that defense overall, taking the worst defense in all football, making them a top 5 unit is pretty remarkable. I think if Steve Wilkes comes in, Steve Wilkes is going to call defensive plays. He is known for that. Like I said earlier, he got fired from San Francisco because he wanted to be aggressive in blitz. That's kind of who Steve Wilkes is. I think Steve Wilkes is going to come here and he's going to be the defensive play caller for the Jets. Our guy Bill M comes in and says, Connor, soon to be superstar sports reporter. Bill, appreciate that. That means a lot, and I appreciate you tuning in on the program. Support means a ton. Like I said, last chance to get your questions in the chat. We have some callers on the line, so we'll go to them. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Tyson and I are on the same page. Kubiak Wilkes. I love Kubiak, son of Gary Kubiak. I wasn't big on him as a head coach. He didn't end up getting an interview with any team, which I thought was great. He has OC experience. When he's had his quarterback healthy, he's done fine things as an OC. Give me him. Innovative offensive mind. I think he's still in his 30s. Give me Clint Kubiak. Jets worldwide question: what's more appealing, signing big names or drafting guys and developing them yourself? Good question here. I think it depends who's developing them. That was my whole thing. I wanted Liam Cohen in here. I wanted a Joe Brady, just because this team's going to draft a quarterback, whether it's this year or next year, who they're going to try to groom to be the franchise guy. And I think you want someone who is able to successfully do that in a Liam Cohen, which he helped kind of revitalize Baker Mayfield's career. Joe Brady, whose Josh Allen's numbers went up significantly once he came in and took over play calling duties in Buffalo. So, I'd say drafting and developing them. Most importantly, my mind goes to the quarterback position. You look at all these names that, well, okay, I'm just going to point to this. The 4 teams that are in the playoffs. Let's look at them and let's notice some traits about their quarterback. So, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. They're all mobile. Yes. They were all expected to be franchise quarterbacks. That was the expectation. They were drafted. I think Hurts was a second rounder, but with the exception of Hurts, all top picks. Josh Allen wasn't particularly expected to be a franchise guy, but they're all franchise quarterbacks. They're all mobile. That's what you need to look for. Baker Mayfield, not a franchise quarterback, bounced. Jared Goff, bridge quarterback, not even bridge. He's a quarterback who wasn't a franchise guy. They traded for him. Not mobile, pocket passer, bounced. Sam Darnold came in, tried to revitalize his career for a season, bounced. Like, you look at the trend here. The franchise guys who are mobile and, are athletic, were able to do more than one thing and are not just pocket passers. Those are the guys who have success in this league. So I think that's what I'd say drafting and developing right here, because you can't win without, drafting and developing a quarterback. Really, that's what this league is about. But incredible question here. Let's see. So I guess tomorrow's the day we get the news. Seems like Nick Haley is most likely the OC. Yeah, I think Kaylee for OC, Steve Wilkes for DC. That's pretty much the way it's looking right now. Sour Diesel comes in and says, this might sound crazy, but I don't think an offensive guru type head coach will ever work with the Jets. We're a defensive ground and pound northeastern franchise. Offensive guys prefer warm weather too. I mean, how do we know that? The only head coach we've had since 2000 who's an offensive mind is Adam Gase. And I think we can all agree and sit here and say Adam Gase did not deserve the Jets head coaching job. And it went utterly horrific what he did with this team. It's an offensive-driven league. Look at the guys who have success, the coaches in this league. A lot of them are offensive minds. I understand the job is to be a CEO, a leader. That is the job of a head coach. However, this is an offensive-driven league, and you need to draft and develop a quarterback to have success, and that's what an offensive mind is going to come in and do here. Nathan says this weekend's NFL picks and Super Bowl picks: Chiefs over Bills, Eagles over Commanders. Unfortunately, I think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again. I hope the Eagles win the Super Bowl, though. Eagles or Commanders, I'm rooting for one of them. Sour Diesel, you come in and you say defense wins championships. It's an offensive-driven league right now. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but it's an offensive-driven league right now. And I'll say this. I think it was Steve Young on ESPN who said this a few years ago. It's a quote that really stuck with me, and it's stuck with me for the past few years. Defense wins championships. Quarterbacks win Super Bowls. That was a quote that stuck with me for a long time. And it goes back to my reference right now where it says, all the quarterbacks who are in the playoffs competing to win a Super Bowl right now are franchise guys who are mobile, who are athletic. Boom. That's where it is. It's an offensive-driven football league now. Just Will White says, you're following your logic. Why not keeping Rodgers and Devontae? Trust your coaching staff to develop the guys you draft. Just playing devil's advocate. Jets Worldwide, I don't think there are any franchise guys at the quarterback position in this year's draft. I'm solely talking about the quarterback position right now. Shedeur and Cam aren't going to be there. After that, I don't want to rely on Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe to be my next franchise guy. Next year, the guys I'm looking for at the quarterback position, Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, Arch Manning, Nico, all these guys, a ton of guys in next year's draft. I am saying wait until next year if you want to go ahead and draft a franchise quarterback. As of now, Devontae and Rodgers gives them the best chance to win. It's all about putting your team in the best chance to win. That's where I am right now. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to call into the show, pin comment in the chat. Get your final questions in here. We're going to wrap up here shortly. Let's go out to the phone lines. Our guy Tigo is joining us here on the show.
What's good, Connor? How are you today?
Okay, can't complain. How are you?
Same thing. Can't complain. After the dust has settled, how are you feeling on the Glenn news?
I'm okay with it just because I was anticipating it for a long time. Like I had to get on board with it. I knew they were gonna hire him since the day they got rid of Salah. So it's like, all right, you got to get yourself on board. Ultimately, Tigo, I wasn't too impressed with the pool overall. I was a big Kingsbury guy from day one.
Yep,
I was clowned for that immediately, and then people are like,
I did that to you a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. Team. He's now bringing his offense to potentially Super Bowl if they pull out an upset here on Sunday. So they
got the better quarterback, so they'll win.
I don't know. It's gonna imagine this team goes to the Super. Could you imagine, Tigo, the Commanders winning the Super Bowl? How crazy that would be.
Yep. No, look, I don't think they'll win. I think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I hate saying that. I think the Chiefs are going to be the Bills. But if we're looking at the NFC, just purely in the NFC, the Commies are better than the Eagles. I think they're a better run offense. I think they have a better quarterback. Like, the only place I honestly think that the Eagles are winning is on the offensive line. I think the Eagles have the best offensive line in football, arguably. Yeah. And so, like, I think there's I think play calling offensively is better for the Eagles. I think Cliff is better than Kellen Moore. I think defensively, it's crazy because you look at that Eagles roster and it's just so stacked. And I might be believing the hype and all this stuff. And to be clear, I wasn't the biggest Jaden Daniels guy coming out. It had nothing to do with his skill set. It had everything to do with his size. I was really concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Is he going to be able to do it? Like, can he handle an NFL season and all of those things? It's the same concern I had with Bryce Young, which is just like, is he like, when Matt Milano comes running down, like, dude, he broke 6'2" Mike White in half.
Yeah, I think he's 6'4". I think he's 6'4", 210, 215 is what he's listed.
Mike White that tall?
I think well no Daniels on the other end, I think it's 6'4", 210 or 215 something. He's built like a rod. I'm rooting for Daniels. I want Daniels
Yeah.
to do well in this league. The problem is, I could see Commanders fans aren't drawing this parallel right now. It would be if they went 3-14 and Daniels looked like crap. But
Yeah,
they're
he's
in,
6'4". Jesus, he's
yeah
huge.
they're in the midst of this, trying to win a Super Bowl here, win a world championship. But I mean, let's be real. Jaden Daniels kind of draws a lot of parallels to RG3.
Yep.
Same Washington organization. When he's on the field, he's great. But the problem is, I think Daniels is built like a rod.
Yes.
I agree. A linebacker, Alex Anzalone, Fred Warner, Matt Milano are going to come running at him. He's played smart. He's got out of bounds, which I think is great. That's what's pretty much saved Lamar Jackson's career. But, one hit and boom, he could be out for a few seasons. The thing with RG3 was when he was in his prime, he was on the field. He was great, but injuries just kept him off the field. And I think that's my concern with Daniels overall right now.
Totally agree. I think that if the commies need to, they're not going to lose Cliff. I think that's a big deal. Cliff is sticking around, so that's a big deal. They need to do everything that they can in their power to improve that offensive line. That's their biggest area of need, is the offensive line. Because if they can keep Daniels upright, they go as far as he takes him, because he can do it. He can do the thing. That offensive line, though, is a problem.
I mean, Nick Allegretti is starting as one of your tackles. It's pretty embarrassing in the National Football League. I mean, it's impressive what Daniels has done, too. I mean, he has some weapons. Austin Eckler had a great year, by the way. I gotta give him some credit. He has Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz had a great year. But if you look at his weapons overall from like an on-paper standpoint, they're not too impressive. It's not like Jalen Hurts, who has Saquon Barkley out of the backfield, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, even John Dotson's able to put up numbers at time. Like, that whole wide receiver core is loaded compared to Jaden Daniels, who Ertz has had a great season. McLaurin's the definition of quarterback proof. Eckler's had a good year, but still a notch quarterback. I think that's safe to say at this point.
Yeah, I think the thing that's going to dictate this game is how hurt is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
because he's been hurt all week, right? How hurt is Jalen Hurts, and can this O-line, the Commies O-line, hold up to what is a very stout defensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles? This weekend's going to be fun. I don't want either team. Can we just not have an AFC team represent?
Yeah.
I
want either NFC team to win the Super Bowls, and it's not just because I hate Buffalo and Kansas City.
No, I don't want Philly to win.
Yeah. Oh, you don't? I like Philly. I've had Jalen Hurts on my fantasy team like the past 4 seasons, past 3 or something seasons like that. I'm a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. I love here's the problem. I think they unlock AJ Brown. I think that could be a huge plus because they've won these past 2 games with AJ Brown, who's averaged like 6 yards a game or something crazy like that. These past 2, you get him involved, you get him back to that 100 yards a game, 150 yards a game. I think there's a chance this Eagles team pulls away at home. Obviously, they're favored here, but don't count Washington out. What they just did in Detroit with which was a stacked Lions team that wasn't like the Vikings, Tico. Let's just be clear. The Vikings were that high-flying 14-win team that has proven nothing in the playoffs. They come in. The Lions proved they were able to make it to the NFC Championship game last year. They were in the Super Bowl for me. So it's like, to go into Detroit, to Ford Field, one of the loudest stadiums, Detroit, they love their football, never won a Super Bowl in their franchise's history. And to do that is it's pretty remarkable here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very, very much excited. I think that we're going to see a really, really good situation going out. Now, one question, and I'll leave you to it.
Yep.
Because you probably got other callers and going all that. I heard your takes on Kaylee. Is it Kaylee? Is that the pronunciation?
Nick Kaylee.
Is it? Okay, it is Kaylee. Nick Kaylee comes in as the OC. I'm a big fan of this. Obviously, I think everybody's going to have Clint Kubiak as their number 1. But I think Clint is going to I think Clint is going to end up in Houston. Ooh. If Houston can I don't know where this came out of, where Houston wants Chip Kelly. That makes no sense to me.
Is he Ohio State? Yeah, he's their OC right now under Ryan Day. He's coached at the NFL level before. I don't know.
But after what? It's been like 6 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't he at UCLA for like 5 or 6 years?
He's been at the college level for a long time. That's like the Jets, Tico, if they were to hire like Matt Campbell as their whatever his name is, the Iowa State guy.
I like Matt Campbell.
Okay.
But not as an OC. In the Saleh cycle, I wanted Matt Campbell as our head coach.
I thought
That's the
Todd
guy I
Monken was
wanted.
I thought Todd well, okay, that was Gase. Todd Monken I thought was the best option during Gase.
Yeah.
Saleh was tough. I think a lot of people wanted Saleh. I was just getting into football at that time. I don't know a ton of like the candidates super well as I would know them now. Who'd you say you really wanted? Matt Campbell from Iowa State?
Yeah, from Iowa State.
Yeah. I could have saw that.
Because at that time there was a big hullabaloo about getting a CEO type head coach. Not a guy who's going to call the offensive plays, not a guy who's going to call the defensive plays. And I kind of got washed up into all of that at that time because obviously the NFL goes in ebbs and flows and things.
Yes.
You know, we're starting to see that turn back to the run game becoming a big thing because linebackers have gotten so small and pass rushers have gotten so fast that, you know, holes are opening up, all of that stuff. So I really wanted Matt Campbell in the worst way because I thought he was going to I looked at it and I thought, that guy's just a leader of men. And like, obviously 2 cycles later, we're getting Aaron Glenn. We all thought that was going to be Robert Saleh and it just didn't work out and things like that. But I was a big fan of Matt Campbell out of Iowa State for the head coach of the Jets during the Robert Saleh cycle.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy to think, Tigo. It's just, I said it earlier in the show, a good coach last season, a competent coach. Aaron Glenn's the coach of the Jets last season. We're potentially talking about the Jets playing this Sunday. We're not talking about the Jets hiring, you know, Darren Muji and a new head coach. We're not talking about that. We're potentially talking about the Jets right now here, Tigo, on January 24th, 9:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday. There's a chance you have a legit coach this past season. There's a chance we're sitting here right now previewing Jets versus Chiefs in the AFC Championship.
Yeah, that's a real – or talking about how do we retool to beat the Bills next year?
Yeah,
because, you know, like that's a real conversation. We have 8 wins if we just get a kicker. Keep the same coaching. If we just have a kicker. If we have 2023 Greg the Leg, we're an 8-win team.
And you have a 2023 defense too? You're an 11-win team.
No, if we have the defense for the first couple of weeks, if we just don't fire Saleh, I think we're an 8 to 10-win team. Because the defense fell apart. Not 10 wins. I think we're at least a 7-win team if Saleh stays. Because the defense fell apart because Ulbrich couldn't handle the responsibilities of being a head coach and a defensive play caller. That's not me advocating, to be very, very clear. That is not me advocating to say that we should have kept Saleh this year and ran it back. No, that is not what I'm saying.
No.
The point is if we had halfway competent coaching this year, we're a 10-win team. Rodgers put up the stats. I think another
his
thing
advanced analytics were terrible. His
Totally.
yards and touchdowns. This is where I am with Rodgers, Tigo. I said it before. People are going to go crazy over the 24 touchdowns compared to Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold. Let's keep in mind, he also threw 11 interceptions. He also threw the second most passing attempts in all of football. So you have someone who's going to throw the second most passing attempts. You'd expect them to finish in the top 15 in touchdowns and yards overall. I agree with you, though.
I think the Jets did lead the league in drops.
Adjusted completion percentage, though, he's still in the 20s from PFF.
Totally. I'm not trying to advocate to say that he was a great. He wasn't, but I think he was at least above league average.
I'd say he was a top 15 to top 17 quarterback overall this season.
I think that's fair. But I will give you this little nugget from a person who was employed with the Jets and will no longer be employed by the Jets because of the whole staff turnover. That apparently one of the big issues with the Jets offense this year, and you can believe this, you don't have to believe this. I'm not gonna.
Is this a little Tigo source?
This is a little nugget. This is a little. It's not even my source.
Oh,
this is a source through. This is a source through a guy that I know. Yeah, we both know. I'll text you later. Right? I'll send you the screenshot. But apparently, Saleh and Ulbrich had this offense not going at full steam. That their belief system when Saleh came in was run the ball, don't turn it over. It's okay if we punt. Our defense will win us the game. And when Ulbrich took over the play calling, it was like, okay, open it up a little bit. Just don't turn over the ball. Like, still be safe. And that's why the play calling, when Todd Downing got the play calling, got a little bit better, but it still didn't go full out, was because of the fact that Saleh and Ulbrich were both in the offensive mind saying, hey, stop. We're not gonna. This is my team. This is my defense. Let us handle the football game. You guys just don't lose it for us. And I think that was a little bit of the Zach Wilson, like
dink and
Zach
dunk
Wilson
offense.
lost his games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think the defensive coaching staff ever pivoted to realize we don't have Zach anymore. We have Aaron. Like, let him loose. So that's one of the reasons why I believe in bringing Aaron back. But again, I see both sides of the argument. Yeah. I understand why someone would not want to bring him back. But once I got that piece of information, I really became gung-ho on bringing Aaron back, because what happens when we don't have to play offense, shackled, when we don't have to play it scared, when the defensive coach says, I don't care if you get a turnover because my defense will stop them. So go out there, go all out. Don't play scared.
Just play football. Just play football.
Just go out there and play regardless of the result, because my defense will hold. Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes, who, I don't know if you know this, his Wikipedia page has already been updated to be listed as the defensive coordinator of the Jets.
I saw a Twitter post about that. Let me check.
It's hilarious. He hasn't been announced yet, but according to Wikipedia, he is the current sitting defensive coordinator for the New York Jets.
There was a Sports Illustrated article that came out too from some San Francisco page. No, it looks Tico. It looks like they updated it.
Did they update it? Check Kaylee, because earlier today Kaylee was updated and had offensive. No, it was Moogie. Moogie, when Josina Anderson did her tweet, Moogie was listed currently Jets general manager. 2020.
Nope, that's gone
changed
too.
Oh, yeah. It was hilarious because there was a couple of minutes there, like there was a couple hours there where both were listed as being part of the Jets and neither one of them was, and it's just like, can we wait for one of the real guys to tweet it out? Can Shefty or Ian tweet it first?
I know. It's so difficult with this whole hiring cycle because it's okay. Lance Newmark is going to be the GM. Nope. Wait, no. Well, first it was John Eric Sullivan. He's the next GM. Nope. Lance Newmark, next GM. Darren Muji. No,
because yesterday it was what's the other one? I can't remember.
Trey Brown.
Yesterday it was Trey Brown. Everything is trending that Trey Brown is going to be the new general manager of the New York Jets. And then today, no, it's Darren Muji. And it's just like, Woody, can you just tweet it out? Can somebody just tell me who it is so I can start figuring out this draft?
And Connor Hughes, I was holding out that glimmer of hope. Quite frankly, I'm not big on any of these GM finalists. None of them excite me whatsoever. No. But I remember Connor Hughes, Zach Rosenblatt, they were like, it's pretty safe to say Lance Newmark is the Jets' next GM, barring something, an unforeseen miracle. And now it's like Lance Newmark, I'd say probably is, lowest chance at getting the job out of these three finalists. One more thing to kind of transition what you said about overall about coaching there. That was a really interesting story between Saleh and Ulbrich. Two things about Saleh here. I would have loved to seen Saleh with Downing calling plays if they didn't fire him before he demoted Hackett. Would have loved to seen that. And the second thing is, I feel like Saleh is a perfect example of, we took him for granted in the sense he wasn't great. 20 and 36, you can't forgive that. Penalty issues, discipline issues that ultimately transitioned over with Ulbrich. But I think this is the scenario where it's like, Robert Saleh, we have a top 5 defense with a defensive-minded head coach. Who cares? We'll promote our defensive coordinator who, let's be real, Tigo, at this point last year, we were talking about Ulbrich as a potential head coach candidate. That's what we were talking about last year. We thought he was 1 year away from being that Aaron Glenn, being that guy who was spoken about, a ton as a head coach candidate, and then he kind of blew all of his chances this year. He ultimately got a DC job with Atlanta, but problem is, I don't think that's like a legit DC job. I mean, under a defensive-minded head coach, that's like being a Matt Nagy or Eric Bieniemy under Andy Reid. So overall, I think, kind of go back to what I said, Saleh staying there, I think it's a different season overall. Not in the sense of it's a 4-win swing, but you maybe get a nice win or two in there. Just how I don't think we knew how involved he was with the defense until he got canned. And
I don't even think it's just that. I think it's just I don't think we really understand the amount of effort it takes to be the head coach and the play caller. One of the things that you said is about I think Ulbrich is back in the spotlight of being a head coaching candidate, not this year, but next year, because Raheem Morris does not call the defensive plays in Atlanta.
Who did this who's their DC this past season?
Jimmy Lake was their DC.
That.
I believe I might be wrong.
Let's see. It says Olbrich as their. See, yeah, it's so annoying now with SEO to find Jimmy Lake. Yes, after one season.
Yeah, so he was their DC. They got rid of him after 1 year because Raheem Morris is not calling the defensive plays.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they went and they got Olbrich, one, because he's familiar with the organization. He was with Atlanta before he came to the New York Jets, right? So there's some familiarity there. But also because Olbrich wants to call defensive plays, he's going to go there. And I think that, like, Atlanta has a pretty solid defense. You know what I mean? And you get Olbrich in there with some of the pieces that they've got. They need work. Totally, but Jesse Bates III, like, that's pretty good. AJ Terrell, like, he's really good. You know what I mean? They got some players. If they decide to bring Judon back, I don't know if you do after this past season. Yeah. It wasn't all that great. But again, how much of that was just like Jimmy Lake?
Mm-hmm.
We saw it with the Jets.
Plays. But now, now it's going to be interesting to see, does Morris call plays this season?
He's already said he's not.
Okay. I didn't know that. So he's already Olbrich, a play calling defensive coordinator. That's
what he was with the Jets.
Play calling. Here's the thing. Olbrich, my concern with Aaron Glenn is kind of follows that similar trajectory of Jeff Olbrich and Robert Saleh. I'm not saying he's one of those two guys, but in the sense of this hotshot defensive coordinator, who. It's the same story, Tigo, with Olbrich and Saleh. These guys who are supposed to be so rah-rah when they were defensive coordinator, on top, so disciplined. And then Robert Saleh first, he looks like a statue when he's on the sidelines. And Jeff Olbrich, who I thought was going to be the energy guy, the guy who was kind of got like what Darren Rizzi did with the Saints over those last 8 games. That was just fun. He came in there, he disciplined them, he was a leader of men. Instead, Olbrich just followed Saleh's trajectory and was great as a defensive coordinator, disciplined all these guys, and then he gets in as a head coach and he's timid like this on the sidelines the whole game.
Again, you get scared. It's a different role. Not everyone's built for it. I think that's one of the things that we learned is that, like, Saleh was he's either not built to be a head coach or he wasn't ready to be a head coach.
Yes.
Whether you're pro-Saleh, anti-Saleh is going to dictate what that is. I don't know what the answer was.
Mm-hmm.
I would go along the lines of he wasn't ready to be a head coach. That would be just because I like Robert Saleh, the human. You know what I mean? He didn't do – like, there are people that are, like, good coaches, and I just don't – for example, when Vrabel was unemployed still, and he was the number one Jets target, I was really high on Vrabel because I thought that's going to be a leader of men. And then his list of OCs that he wanted came out. And
Tommy Reese and that whole
Tommy Reese and McDaniels was the list. Yeah. And I said, hard pass, I'm done with Vrabel. Because I don't want Josh McDaniels on my team. And it's not because I don't think that he's a good offensive coordinator. Like, I'm sorry, we can't not look at the 2017 New England Patriots, Josh McDaniels, and Tom Brady on that. That was the best offense in football. Like, hands down. How much of that was Tom Brady, all of that stuff. But he's just not a likable human.
Yeah, and then you look what he did with the Raiders, too, as a head coach.
Yeah, he just burned that whole thing to the ground.
He was like the Nathaniel Hackett. That's actually a good comp. He was like the Nathaniel Hackett for the Raiders in the sense of this good, solid coordinator working with one of the best quarterbacks of all time who worked together to produce this, high-powered offense. And then they blow their spot in the head coaching role. What you said there about guys not being made for the head coaching job makes a lot of sense. A few good examples. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, Bowles got out in New York, and he's done okay in Tampa Bay.
But how much of that is because of the offensive coordinators? He's had rightfully because they got stolen, but he's on his 4th offensive coordinator. They fired Leftwich. He's not employed. He doesn't have a job. That should tell you something.
Coaching job.
He doesn't have a job at all. And like Liam Cohen is a one-hit wonder, and he's going to Jacksonville, and I wanted Liam Cohen in the worst way. This offseason, but it's just I personally keep looking at the Bucs and I go, he is a coach that's being bailed out because he's had 2 really, really good offensive coordinator fires.
You could make the same argument for Dan Campbell, though. Like, Dan Campbell's never called plays before. He's a leader of men, but it's going to be interesting.
No, totally. I made this. It's really, really funny that you brought this up because I literally brought this up in quick little plug, our Wednesday show that I do with Green Bean, Armchair
GM Talking Jets. Check it out, everyone.
I literally brought this up and I said, we're going to figure out who Campbell is next season.
Yeah.
Because now we're going to know who he is as a coach.
With Tanner Engstrand and Kelvin Shepard, exactly.
You know what I mean? Is it Engstrand? Engstrand's not going to Chicago?
I would be surprised if he's not their offensive coordinator. It's not guaranteed. I'd say it's either him. Hank Fraley got the promotion, not to OC. So it's not going to be him. Maybe JT Barrett. Either Burnell, Engstrand, or JT Barrett for OC.
I thought Engstrand was headed to Chicago with Ben.
Campbell would be pissed, I think, if Ben took a Engstrand with him to.
Again, I would be pissed too if I just. It kind of makes sense that Engstrand goes, and I thought that Brunel probably stays and calls plays.
I could see that.
That was where my mind was at. If Engstrand stays, that's a different conversation entirely. But again, we're gonna figure out who Dan Campbell is as a coach and how good he is at building a staff, because this is gonna be his first test. Mm-hmm. Because you can very easily say that when Campbell came in, he got lucky with getting Glenn and Campbell.
He's never called he's never called plays before. Let's make that clear. Never called plays in his coaching. Still to this day, he's never called plays. That's why I thought Josh McCown would be a viable option for the Jets.
Yeah,
with the right staff, a leader of men, a CEO type guy. You give me him with Doug Peterson as the offensive coordinator or Lovie Smith as the DC. Sign me up.
That's why I was such a big fan, or I'm becoming a big fan of Glenn, is because all of the things that he's doing this offseason, he's doing it the right way. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people assume that if you go get Glenn, what he's going to do, he's going to find a veteran offensive coordinator to help him be the head coach so that he could still do the defensive side of the ball. But the possibility and the real likelihood that Steve Wilks is going to be our defensive coordinator kind of throws that out the window a little bit.
Yeah.
Because now, Steve Wilks is a veteran defensive coordinator. He's a veteran because he has head coaching experience. It didn't work, but that's valuable knowledge. Why didn't it work, Steve? What did you do wrong, and how can I prevent myself from doing those things? And Steve, I don't think, is going to be okay being behind Aaron Glenn while Aaron Glenn calls plays. I think they're going to want to work together to build a defensive game plan. But the thing that really excites me is, one, all of the comments that are coming out about Caley and how he's so intelligent and all of the things that he did.
From McVay. From McVay.
Not just from McVay, from other people, where it's just you brought up the comment where it's just when you leave a conversation with Caley, it sounds like you're having a conversation with McVay. Those things excite me because we're going to run a modern offense. Finally, it's only been, 60 years since we ran a modern offense. But the things that are coming out are exciting because it's just he's not going to just be on the defensive side of the ball. People forget that he was a scout. Scouts don't just scout one side of the ball. You're not just a DB scout.
Too. Not in the NFL, but he was a GM with I think it was the Battlehawks, the team that Anthony Beck coaches. He was a GM with them, which obviously isn't the NFL, but still it's impressive.
No. Aaron Glenn was the GM of the Battlehawks?
I don't know about the Battlehawks. One of those minor teams there. XFL or AAF, whatever they call it now. I don't think it was the Battlehawks. One of those teams. He was the Houston Stallions in 2012. He was their GM. That's who it is. And then he went to the Jets for two more seasons as a personnel scout after that. And then he transitioned into coaching. So I agree.
Again, he might not have a super deep understanding of the offense an offensive mind does, but this is where I think I'm starting to like Aaron Glenn. That can go all out the window if tomorrow he comes out and he says, you know what, we're gonna keep Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers really likes this Nathaniel Hackett guy, so we're gonna retain him as offense. That's all out the window.
If they do that,
right?
That might be. Oh my!
I might be done. I might close the channel. I might go be a Lions fan. I might follow Liam Cohen to Jacksonville. I have no idea what I'm gonna do at that point. But you know what I'm saying? As long as the things continue to go in the right direction, and obviously they're not gonna do that. But
no,
if they announce, hey, Nick Caley is our offensive coordinator, that's a big deal. I like that. I like that a lot. Steve Wilks is our defensive coordinator. You know what? That's a great hire. I like that a lot. I'm a big fan of that. Sneaky pick here. Sneaky pick. I know a lot of people have talked about Banjo.
Oh, is the special teams guy Chris Banjo?
As the special teams guy. Watch out for Rizzi coming to the New York Jets to be the
I've
special teams coordinator.
I've said that for weeks. Since he interviewed for the job, no head coach was in place. You could have sold me on Rizzi as a head coach, but special teams coordinator? Sign me up all day.
I'm just saying, like, imagine, even if it is Banjo, special teams matters.
Of course.
It really, really does. And we've been blessed with the last 15 years having, like, two guys, really.
Brent Boyer and Mike Westhoff.
Yeah. And they're two great guys, right? And you know how I know the New York Jets are a really, really good organization is because you see other organizations trying to steal our staff. Remember when we hired Saleh, we looked like we were trying to steal the people from San Francisco? And the tables have turned. Look at this. San Francisco, they're just hiring Jets. Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator. Brant Boyer probably going to be their special teams coordinator. The San Francisco 49ers see what the Jets are doing and obviously think it's a good thing, and they're trying to emulate it. If you guys haven't picked up on the sarcasm, I don't know what you're doing. But like again, if you go into it and you say, hey, Darren Moogie is going to be our head coach. Don't love it, but I'm going to give him a shot. I'm going to give him an opportunity to I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I agree.
He seems like a very smart guy, been in Denver for a long time. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. If it's Trey Smith, you know what? A lot of the comments that had come out about him are really, really nice. I love the way that he allegedly blends analytics with the eye test and all those things. Love what I'm hearing. I'm going to give him an opportunity to disappoint me. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? But like, there's a lot of moves that there are a lot of things that are happening where I'm just like, okay. Oh, okay. You know, it's
yeah.
I'm starting to like it. I'm starting to like it. Let's just get the GM in place and let's get free agency right. That matters.
Resign Jamie Sherwood.
Thank you. Immediately.
Give me the tight end, not tight ends and wide receivers are interesting. T. Higgins was someone I was big on last year before they tagged him. Give me T. Higgins, sign him to a nice 4 or 5 year deal. Stephon Diggs is a name to watch. The injury though is going to be a concern. As
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
Stephon Diggs is.
Keenan Allen's interesting too.
I want Ted McMillan in the worst way.
That is where I am. Thank you, T. We were talking about this the other night when I had you on. I think it was a week from today. That's what I want to get into before I let you go. The draft. Ted McMillan, I'm huge on. I'm watching 2 games basically for every one of the main prospects.
I do 3.
Okay, you do 3. So
I do their best game, their worst game, and then an average game.
Okay, nice. So I think Ted is. I think his route running is a little underrated. Like I've seen reports where they don't like his route running. He might be a little. He might be on the slower side, but I think it's competent. The thing I like most about him is his hands. Like
he catches anything in his zip code.
He's catching anything in his zip code. The body control too is absolutely incredible. Someone who has a 6'5" frame, who's 212 pounds.
He shouldn't move the way that he does. Exactly.
He's some of the best body control I've ever seen. My comp for him was like a T. Higgins, who has a ceiling that is completely through the roof.
Yeah.
That was. Is there anyone else you think we should keep the eye on in the draft? So I'm going like position by position right now. Finished most of the quarterbacks, did most of the running backs, just starting the receivers. I think the running back class is actually really nice behind Genty. My sleeper is Quinshawn Judkins, I think is how you say his last name, from Ohio State. I'm a huge fan of what he brings to the table. The wide receivers class, I know Ted McMillan. He's the talk of the town. He's the top of the board.
Also solid.
Other than that, the 2 names I've watched who I wasn't really blown away by are Amika Akuba, from Ohio State, didn't impress me too much.
Nope.
Trey Harris from Ole Miss, Jackson Dart's teammate, who's I think a lot of people have him in their top 3. I'm not too big on him. So I still have a lot to look at overall from the wide receivers and overall just as the whole draft class, because it's January. We're basically a few months now away from the draft, so I'm going to really start ramping this up once all the hires are in place. But I don't think there's a lot. The way I describe this draft is, I think there are like 15 overall solid players that I think generous. Are going to. Really? I so 10, 12, 11 players that I think are really solid compared to last year's draft. Tigo, I don't think we really spoke about it at the time of last year overall, but I mean, that draft was insane. Like there was so much depth overall, I feel like, in last year's draft compared to now. I think it's like you have the top 10 picks, you have 10 guys who I think are able to be solid players in Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Ted McMillan, Kelvin Banks Jr., Will Campbell. That's like those are my top 7 right now overall. If I had to put out like a big board there, so I think I like where the Jets are at 7. My concern
I
is
don't.
my concern was the Jets going 7-10, Tigo, and then being at like pick 15 again. Or
I'd rather be at pick 15.
Why?
So here's the thing: we're not close enough to get our guy. Here's the reality of
I think
it.
Tet's the guy if he's there at 7.
But does he make it to 7? That's the problem.
I mean, Vegas is after us, right?
Does Jacksonville? Liam Cohen's now their new head coach.
Let me check.
You know what I mean? You're telling me after having Mike Evans for a year, he's not going to want to get a guy who doesn't play like Mike Evans, but doesn't measures out like Mike Evans? You have a guy who can just take the top off in Brian Thomas Jr. And then you have a guy that can catch anything in his area code.
I think they're going to take Mason Graham. I think Mason Graham, they're going to try to build the interior of that line there.
We don't, but we can't say, like, if it was bulky, I'd be with you. But it's not bulky anymore.
Who's their GM, though? I think that's the big question.
I think it's going to be Greenberg. I think that makes sense. I have no inside info on this. It's just Liam Cohen's going to be a part of the decision. He's worked closely with Greenberg. It'd be really easy to get Greenberg. Yeah, it'd be really easy to get Greenberg to align with Cohen and have a very similar philosophical vision for this football team. And so if that's the case, we know what the top 4 picks are going to be, right? It's going to go some variation of Shedeur, Cam, Hunter, Carter. We know those are going to be the first 4
I could see a world where Mason Graham, if someone wants to really take a big swing on him, I don't think he's the juggernaut that a lot of people are describing him as from a game or two that I've watched. If he's there at 7, Tigo, don't get me wrong, you pull the trigger, you run up to the podium taking Mason Graham. I just don't think he's a top 4, top 3 pick that a lot of people are hyping him up to be. I take Abdul Carter over him.
He's my number 2 prospect in this class. Is Mason
for the Jets? Here's the thing.
Not for the Jets. Overall,
okay,
he's my number 2 prospect in this class.
When I view guys, I kind of pick them for the Jets. There's a reason I haven't watched too much of Shedeur and Cam Ward, just because I don't want to waste my time watching them when I can be watching Kyle McCord, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, guys who are realistic targets for the Jets on day 3. So what I've seen limited, I'd probably take for the Jets. I think it's Mason Graham 1. Tet McMillan, Mason Graham 1, Abdul Carter 2, Tet McMillan 3, Will Campbell 4. I think that's the top 4 for the Jets right now. Will Campbell, that's the thing. You take Will Campbell in. You take Will Campbell at pick 7. Took an offensive tackle at pick 10 last year in Olu Fashanu. But you take Will Campbell, you're basically just solidifying all 5 pieces in your offensive line for years to come. It's not the sexy pick. Let's make that clear. It's
not the right pick either.
Okay, you don't want to just lock up all 5 spots in the line?
Here's the problem. Yes, I do. Of course I do. Protect the quarterback, you win football games. The Detroit Lions are winning a ton of football games with Jared Goff under center. And regardless, Jared Goff's not a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He is.
He's a pocket passer. He's a pocket passer.
He is a top 18 to 12 quarterback every year. And that's all they need him to be, because they have one of the best lines in football. Another player that I think is bang average, and this is going to hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, is Jalen Hurts. I don't think Jalen Hurts is all that good of a quarterback. He's the best offensive line in football and one of the best wide receivers in all of football.
And a great running back that you could run a read option with. Yeah.
And they just added Saquon Barkley, arguably the best running back in football. Not arguably, this year he is, right?
The best.
That's because Christian McCaffrey missed all of the year, right? But so I totally get you. But the way that I look at this is asset allocation. And I look at it and I go, a first-round pick is a valuable asset. You don't get a ton of them, and they are players that need to play on your football team for a long time. And when you look at your football team and you look at the asset allocation, is where are you allocating first-round picks to? And when I look at offensive lines, or the top offensive lines in football, they're not throwing as many first-round and second-round picks on offensive linemen as, let's say, the Jets are. When you look at the New York Jets, we have this year 3 day 1 and day 2 picks on the offensive line in Elijah Vera Tucker, Joe Tippmann, and Olu Fashanu. We have 2 day 1 picks, first-round picks, and a second-round pick.
And then, Sign Simpson, yeah.
So that is a lot of assets on your offensive line. But where it doesn't have a first-round pick, at all, is you go into your what I like to call your secondary weapons. So your tight ends and your running backs. Because
like Harold Fannin, Harold Fannin,
So,
Trevor Etienne, perhaps if you want to take a swing on something like that. Here's the thing, I am not
advocating. Before I get yelled at, I'm sorry. I'm not advocating for Warren at 7. Please,
no.
That is not what I'm saying. God, I love Tyler Warren, but not at 7. Don't before chat freaks out. What
15
I'm
or
saying,
17 or 15.
That's why I'd rather be at 15 because at 15 you can get Warren, and that's good asset allocation. At 15, if Malachi Starks is still there, that's good asset allocation.
I think he's going to New Orleans. I think Malachi.
I agree.
Malachi Starks, I think, is a really, really solid prospect. I've watched limited on the top guys because I'm just trying to go position by position here, like I said. But Malachi Starks is I think he has the potential to be a great safety in the league. Problem is, I think fans would riot if the Jets decided to pick a safety with the 7th overall pick. I'm not for overall just taking a safety within the top 10. That's something I said earlier at the top of the show, though. You need to revamp this whole safety room. I don't think there's going to be one safety on this roster once free agency opens. Maybe Tony Adams on the ROFA tender, bring him back for $960,000 next season. But I think that's unlikely as well. Chuck Clark, gone. Ashton Davis, gone. Isaiah Oliver, gone. Tony Adams, gone. You have a whole safety room now to build. So, I think
that there's a good opportunity. I think you're probably right. We probably do bring back Tony Adams. He was a starter for us, and he's familiar with the defense and maybe a new coach because you need to have somebody. You can't go into an offseason needing 4 safeties. It's just not. It's not.
Zachary says Jalen Mills is staying. Still, I don't think he's a safety in this league. You can argue maybe he's a roster.
We're looking at starters, right?
Yeah.
And so again, you're looking at this team. And I think another thing that people really need to wrap their head around is we're not going to be able to address everything. There are going to be positions where we're going to be like, who's that guy? Why is that guy playing why is that guy playing for us? Period. You know what I mean? Who is this guy? Because you can't turn everything around in 1 year. You can't just go, I know a lot of people are just go defense. No, the offense still needs help. We need tight ends. We need tight ends. We need a right tackle. And I want to bring back Morgan Moses, but still, you need a right tackle.
He's
and
not
Budda Baker. No, of course not. But Budda Baker just got paid. So the safety market's not all that great if you want to go out and get a safety. So now you're starting to have this conversation of how are you going to go and address this? And so the reason I'm not a fan of being at 7 is because I don't think Tet makes it to us. I hope that he does. I really, really do. I really want Tet McMillan, but all of the teams that pick ahead of us could take Tet McMillan.
Let's see.
All of them.
Titans, that shitter. Browns, Carter, Cam, Giants, no.
But let's say
Patriots potentially.
The Giants could take Tet. What happens when the Browns trade the number 2 overall pick? What happens when they sell that pick and Las Vegas comes up and they get Cam? What happens when that happens?
I could see the Giants trying to trade back and get a haul. I could see them trying to trade back as well and getting a haul for that pick.
But who's coming up? That's the problem with this class. There's not a single player in this class, in my opinion, that's worth trading up for.
Do you see the Jets going up, or is that hard now?
No, that's my thing. Who are you going up for? Tet's good, not worth giving up future assets. Abdul Carter's good, not worth going up to get assets, giving up assets for him. Abdul Carter isn't, that class that we had where it was, JJ and Karlaftis and Abdul Carter's great. Don't get it twisted, but I'm not trading up for Abdul Carter, especially again asset allocation when we have 3 first-round picks on the defensive line. We have Will McDonald. We have Jermaine Johnson. We have Quinnen Williams. That is a lot of assets on that in the first round going to the defensive line. I'm sorry. You got to get to a point where you got to start hitting on day 2 and day 3. Can we get a second-round edge to hit? Can we get a third-round edge to hit? I'm not saying that, we need, because we don't need to, we're not going to do that same level of rotation that we saw before. Our guys are going to play 70 to 80 snaps now. That's great for us because that doesn't mean we need to be 9 deep anymore. Yeah. Michael Clemens won't take another snap for the New York Football Jets ever. I almost said New York Football Giants because that's where I think he probably ends up going. But that's the whole thing. We don't need to be that deep anymore. Can we get a second-round pick? Their draft class is loaded at edge. It's loaded at edge. So
I was listening to NFL Stock Exchange podcast with Sycamore and Rodgers, and I'm not too familiar with I think they probably listed out 20. They did top 15, but they said there's like 20 draftable edges in this year's class
that are gonna go on in rounds 1, 2, and 3. Not just because a lot of people go oh, there's 20 draftable players, but they talk about 1 through 7. No.
They talk about 20 in
the first 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can go and get JT Tuimoloau. I think it's how you pronounce it, at Ohio State in the second round.
Yeah, they spoke about his name a lot on the pod.
That's so good. That's so solid. So that's my whole thing where it's just dude, if you can trade out of 7, do it. I don't care who's on the board. Trade out. The only player that I stick and pick at 7 is Tet. But it's so hard to convince someone to go. One, because I don't think he makes it. I think that there is a real world in which Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the New York Giants. They go get Ted McMillan and they try, and Dable and is it Bean? Who's the general manager of
Joe Shane. Joe Shane. Brendan Brown is their assistant GM.
Yeah, where they just try to keep their jobs as much as possible. And a really good way to do that is Sam Darnold, who's a solid game manager, and just give him weapons. And
or just I could see them maybe, they're a crazy team. Sign Marcus freaking Mariota in free agency. He's a bridge guy. Resign Drew Lock and run it back with him for a season if you can't get a quarterback there.
But they can't risk that because their jobs are on the line. That's the thing. They're gonna have to take a big swing. And
Milroe in round 2 or 3.
But they don't have time to sit and develop Milroe. If they don't work this year, they're fired.
Jackson Dart. Kyle, here's the thing. After Cam and Shedeur, I don't think there are any quarterbacks who should be starting next season out of this class. None of them. I'm not a huge fan of the quarterback class overall.
Horrible quarterback.
I'm not even a big fan of Cam and Shedeur. I think Shedeur holds onto the ball way too long.
Yep.
Once he gets pressured, it's a disaster. On the other hand,
I think all the off-field drama with Shedeur is going to be the problem.
It's gonna be
a clown show.
It's gonna be LaMelo Ball. I don't know if you're a basketball guy, Tigo, but LaMelo,
that's
LeVar
perfect.
Ball.
Yep.
LaMelo, who I'd say Lonzo isn't a great comparison because he wasn't too out of a name, but LaMelo Ball was came up this young guy, and then you have to deal with the luggage that comes with. And could you imagine, Tigo, if Shedeur goes to the Giants and Dion goes back to the Cowboys? Could you imagine what that would be like, playing each other twice a year?
Dion would do everything in his power. Dion's not going to the Cowboys because they can't draft his son.
Dion would throw the game if it was
Dion. If the Giants are serious and they trade up to 2 to go get Shedeur, because I have Cam as quarterback 1 of this class.
Same. I'm with you. I have Cam, Shedeur. I think my quarterback 3 is I think it's Dart who I have at 3.
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm so anti-quarterback in this class.
Yeah.
I have done Cam and Shedeur.
Wow. Whoa. Brian Schottenheimer just got the Cowboys head coaching job.
Official?
Officially official from Adam. We were just talking about Dion, and I just got the notification from Adam Schefter. Sorry to cut you off there, Tigo, but
that's big news.
It's going to come up with the blur. I'll get the tweet up on the screen. Adam Schefter is reporting Brian Schottenheimer is getting the Cowboys. Isn't this insane, Tigo?
The Cowboys aren't a real organization.
Look at this. Officially official. Brian Schottenheimer is the Cowboys' next head coach. What a joke. What a joke.
Guys, whenever we get sad about having Woody as our owner, remember that Uncle Jerry's out there.
Yeah.
Uncle Jerry exists. He fired a Super Bowl winning coach to promote Schottenheimer.
Wow. Brian Schottenheimer. Jesus. I don't even know what to say. I failed.
Dude, what do you...
How? As a coordinator 10 years ago.
It's the Dallas Cowboys. How is Schottenheimer the best guy you can get?
It's not.
It's because Jerry doesn't want to relinquish any control. And no one's going to want to go work with Jerry.
Nobody. I mean, I think...
Ben should have gone to Dallas.
Who'd you say?
Ben Johnson. That would have been a match made in heaven But Ben doesn't want to have to deal with Jerry. Of course not.
No.
Of course not.
No, not at all. I mean, I could have seen that if you brought in Dion though, that would have been a 3-ring circus between him, Jerry.
That would
I
have been
could see,
cinema.
yeah,
Cinema. Put cameras on everything and never stop recording.
Exactly. But Schottenheimer, I think I didn't. It's crazy to think he was even a head coach candidate this cycle. Like, I understand it was a promotion, but still, I mean, that is absolutely insane that you promote someone who failed as a coordinator in this league 10 years ago with our beloved New York Jets and now is getting a head coaching job in 2025 with the
for the team that he was employed at and didn't call plays.
Nope.
Mike McCarthy called the offensive plays.
That's like if the Jets were that's like if the Jets just fired.
We host the Cowboys this year.
Oh wow.
He's coming home. After 10 years.
Could you imagine what his staff is going to look like, Tigo? I'm sure there's going to be some former Jet positional coaches there, maybe.
Oh my gosh. He's just going to keep everybody, right?
Who's
going to want to go to Dallas to work with Brian Schottenheimer?
Nobody.
Right? So you just keep everybody.
Mark Burnell is OC. Mark Burnell is OC.
Like, God, man.
How do you do that?
The Cowboys aren't real.
That we complain about Woody, like you said, but I mean, there's always Jerry Jones.
At least there's always someone worse. Yeah. At least it's not Jerry.
Yeah. Anyways, Tigo, I appreciate you hopping on. I think that's a great way to kind of end this segment here on the show. Appreciate you tuning in. Plug everything. You got any final thoughts? And got to have you on, like, officially as a guest sometime soon.
Yeah, man. No, it was fun. Let's have a good one. Let's enjoy the off season. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button and the like button on this video. Connor deserves it.
Appreciate you guys.
Have a good one.
Tigo, appreciate you checking in. Great stuff as always. Check out his work. Him and Green Bean on every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Armchair GM Talking Jets YouTube channel. Sub to him, Talking Jets with Tigo. And the next caller we're about to get to just dropped down. It was Lancel, Awesome LA. So if you want to call back in, you'll cut the line. But as of now, we have another caller who's been waiting for quite some time. He's electric. Hopefully we'll end the show with this. Our closer. It is the Lane Train calling in. Lane, how are you, man?
Good, Connor. So how do you feel about the Jets? Like, how do you feel about Davante Adams?
Well, Lane, I spoke about Davante Adams a little earlier on. I think if Aaron Rodgers is back with the team, he will be back as well. On the other hand, I think they're kind of like a package deal in that sense. If Rodgers is gone, I think he's gone. Overall, though, if he wants to come back, he has to take a significant pay cut and restructure his deal here.
I know how you feel because now, like, going, like, they're not really doing anything except, like, who did they drop down for the 7th pick? Because who do you see them getting?
Ted McMillan. Lane is an interesting name to watch, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I know that he's doing well. I mean, in his, like, rankings and stuff. And then you have the UC Taylor, the other one also going to the Jets. Taylor, what's his name?
I don't know who. Are you trying to say Tanner Engstrand?
Yeah, Tanner Engstrand. That's what I meant.
Yeah, so it's not official. I don't think I've even heard his name really as an OC candidate. He has the connection though with Aaron Glenn in Detroit, so I wouldn't rule anything out there for him to be the Jets' next offensive coordinator. I think there's a solid chance though, Lane, he's either promoted as their offensive coordinator in Detroit or he follows Ben Johnson to the Bears.
It's like I'm just like sitting back after this whole season. And we went nowhere. I mean, honestly,
5-12.
Got like 2 wins, like 5. Well, what was that? Honestly, it's like,
coaching, Lane.
I heard about Adam Safner. Some breaking news that he went to another team.
Yeah, you're talking about the Brian Schottenheimer news.
Yeah, the Brian Sahner news.
Yeah, we just spoke about that. Brian Schottenheimer is he's going to Dallas, where he's going to become their or he's going to become their head coach, which is crazy. Here, I see something. Cowboys interviewed Eagles former Jets head coach. Oh yeah, the Cowboys actually interviewed Robert Saleh too, and he was a front runner there.
Robert Saleh's going to the I almost said the Jets to the. This is what happens when you get traded. You forget what team you're going to.
Yeah,
Like,
the 49ers. It seems like
yeah,
he's going to be
he's
their
going back to his. Yeah, I
as
had
the
no
just
idea that Aaron Glenn was a Jet.
yeah.
Yeah,
Laney
I
was
had no
hired the other
idea.
day. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
obviously he was hired the other day, but
I
he
read
played
that in
with
the
them for
paper.
eight seasons. First round pick in '94, 2 All Pro seasons. He was a great Jet, Lane.
Because you have like all the older players back then. You had Kenny O'Brien. Then you had Mark Gastineau back then.
Yeah,
I actually, believe it or not, did meet him and Munson at Jets camp, believe it or not.
Munson trying to
Yeah,
Mangold, Nick
yeah,
Mangold.
yeah. I met like two of them. Yeah,
Nice,
believe
that's
it or
awesome,
not.
Lane.
Back when they played in Hofstra,
Hofstra, yeah, Hofstra.
then
Nice,
they
Lane.
moved.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then anyway, and
mhm.
it's like honestly, I don't know who else the Jets draft. I mean, honestly, you have to. We're gonna have to see who they pick in going into round 3, and then like so on and so on. And I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to Saturday and Sunday because you got two teams playing. And I mean, hopefully, I don't want the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl.
Neither do
I
I,
just
but I don't
rather
want the
have the
Bills.
Bills go. Yeah, I don't want the Bills.
Oh,
Maybe I want the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl, but not the Bills or the Chiefs. Come on, I'm
yeah.
tired of them always winning.
I don't want an
Okay.
AFC team. I
Yeah,
just
I
want it.
know. It's just like
Yeah.
you think to yourself, can we see another team? Like I wish it was the Giants in the Super Bowl or Jets,
Mhm.
but I guess maybe next year going into we'll have to see.
Lane, that's
Yeah,
the hope.
because
That that
yeah,
that's
no,
that's the hope.
I'm not
I
gonna.
appreciate your call. You got any final thoughts?
Yeah, and then like honestly, like if you have to like pull somebody else, like make another signing, then I don't know what to do with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you bring him back or he retires because he's getting up there. So yeah, that's all I got to talk about right now. Yeah, thank you for taking my call.
Okay, of course, Lane. I appreciate you checking in. Great stuff. As always, I think Aaron Rodgers ultimately comes back on a pay cut next season. I think that's what happens. Aaron Glenn, the head coach of this team, a first-time defensive-minded head coach, I don't think he's going to want to take a flyer on a bridge option in free agency or try to draft a guy and put him in right away. So I think ultimately Aaron Rodgers comes back on a pay cut. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. An hour and 38-minute long show. Wow. Thanks to you guys. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Last chance to get in on the conversation. Pin comment in the chat. Final thoughts. Don't forget about our membership raffle leaderboard down below. Garrett Wilson signed mini helmet, Winkerbet signed football, free item from the merch store, and channel emojis. What we're giving away this month. So be sure to gift memberships if you haven't gotten in already. Appreciate all your support. And then if you want to check out our merch store, NY Jetstock hat and much more, all in the description down below. Check out our Discord as well. Join that completely free. Daily Jets conversations, exclusive channel updates means a lot. If you ever have any advice for the show, throw it in the chat, throw it in the Discord, and it helps us grow significantly. If you have any thoughts on the top of your head, just throw it in the live chat right now. What do you guys want to see on the show? That's what I want to bring you this offseason. This is our last season we started the show the end of December 2023. So we didn't really have a full audience yet. And thanks to you guys. You guys are the best listeners in the whole wide world. We didn't have a full audience by then. This is really our first full off season as a full up and fully not fully grown. We're still growing, which is awesome. We're kind of more of an established channel, which is awesome. So more of an established channel. We're looking to bring some really, really, really exciting stuff to the show. If you want to see anything specific, throw it in the Discord, throw it in the comments after the fact, throw it in the live chat right now, and I'll be sure I can do everything I can to get that to you guys. Whether that is a certain, like someone threw a cap expert in earlier. We're having a cap expert on tomorrow. If you want more draft analysts, if you want more, if you have a specific guest in mind, you would really be interested to pick their brain, throw that in. I'll do everything I can to try to get them on the show. So that's where I am. Let's throw that in the chat. And wow, more breaking news here on the program. Robert Saleh, it's official. He's back in in the red and white. I think the main colors there. San Francisco. He's now returning home as the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. Some more Jets news. Felt it coming, but now it's official. Good for Saleh. Happy he got a DC job. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Your support means a ton. 1.43 subscribers we just hit. Please hit it if you haven't already. Completely free. Same with the like button. Helps us grow a ton. Goal is 2,000 subscribers by the draft, 3,000 by the start of the regular season. You guys are the ones who make this show possible. So keep it going there. Red and gold. That's what it was. I saw white on Kyle Shanahan. I know it's the Reds. So it's like gold. I know that's their color rush jerseys too, as well. Appreciate you, Wild Wave. Lane says, can you put Ken O'Brien on your show? Lane, I will try to get Ken O'Brien on the show. I appreciate your suggestion. I don't know if he's done a ton of podcasts, but I'll do my best there, Lane, to try to get Kenny O on the program for sure. Appreciate you all tuning in. Your support means a ton on this Friday evening. January 24th, 2025. Darren Muji, not officially the Jets GM, but it's trending that way. Stay tuned. I'm going to set up the show after a little later tonight. Michael Pellas, Jets cap expert, will be joining me on the program 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate all your support. I am your host, Connor Long, wrapping things up here on this Friday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk. JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.